Hi, folks. You're with Tastus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about New Age managerialism, the sort of managerialism that we're seeing that is really there to ensure that the equity goals of affirmative action, race and gender quotas are being enacted, but also that these minorities are not being offended in any way. So this is sort of a new age of management. The goals are hardly commercial or focused in any commercial sense. So now what brought this sort of up, I'd been thinking about it, I guess, on and off for a bit, but one of the clients of a business I've got a share in is I suppose you'd call them a medium approaching large commercial organisation. They're in a somewhat competitive space, but more and more of their business is either government or indirectly government business. So they've started to change. Now, their figures have sort of gone down. They're not doing as well as they wanted. So they hired I suppose you'd call him a vice president of sales. He's a guy maybe in late 30s, very sharp, very switched on, very focused. And I'd sort of bumped into a few times. We'd exchanged a few words, but nothing serious. I couldn't say I knew him really well, but I was impressed with what I saw. And I'd watched him interact with other staff, and I thought he was very, very good, very professional, again, very focused, and really seemed to know his stuff. He was really out there to do a job and do it well, certainly as best that I could ascertain. But having a cup of coffee and a casual chat with the CEO out at a cafe, and he quite casually, just in passing, or with no emotion in his voice, indicated that they were going to get rid of this guy and sack him or fire him. And well, why? He seems, from what I've seen, he seems pretty good. Oh yeah, no, he's really good. He's hardworking, he's industrious, he's conscientious, he's does a great job, and da 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 da. But he just doesn't fit in with sort of the current paradigm or the current way that we manage, because we've got a lot of minorities in the company. We've got a lot of black lesbians, a lot of other minorities, and they don't like being accountable. They don't want to have to justify the work they've done. They don't want to be corrected, or they don't want to be evaluated or judged or any of those things. And this guy's doing that, and we can't have that. We simply can't have the minorities offended. So he has to go. Now, we just need to sort of look at the situation here. The guy admits this VP of sales is doing a great job, and he's not like he's turning up drunk and vomiting in the meeting or something. He's doing all the things. He's ticking all the boxes and doing everything plus more that's expected of him. But that and it's not written into a job description. It's not something that exists in any formal sense. But he's not part of the new age equity agenda in the sense of the minorities. So what the CEO is quite happy to do is to say, well, look, we'll have someone who's, and if they're not going to do the job, if they don't do the job well, that doesn't really matter, because their main focus is not offending the minorities. Now, I don't know how widespread this is. I'd imagine widespread, particularly in the bigger organizations, and particularly where a minority can make an allegation of, he spoke inappropriately to me, he made a racist comment, or, he made inappropriate sexual advances, or, any of those sort of things. And that's believed, that becomes fact. So any executive in commerce or business that wants to focus primarily on doing the job that hitherto was was 101, a managerial role, today it's not. I would surmise that certainly in the bigger companies and in the and creeping into the mid-sized companies and possibly the smaller companies, that everybody, all management employees, are now required to satisfy the non-offending of minorities. And we're talking about people who are very prickly, very easy to be offended, professionally offended, who want to be offended by anything. And these are people that the minute they see any accountability coming their way or possibility of it, they're already going into, okay, I was raped, I was this, I was that, to come out with anything, because that's a great defense. You know, he was a misogynist to me, he was a racist, or he was this, and that's permissible now to say, well, I don't want to be accountable, and I don't want to have to meet, my sales budget or whatever it might be. So what I'm going to do is just accuse the guy of racism or sexism or misogyny. And given that more than half the employees now are minorities in that sense, pushing into 3/4. And given that, then we're going to see a situation where this is going to, on the current trajectory, this is going to expand. Now, any company that's faced with that will struggle to make profits in a real commercial sense. So the only thing they can do is go to the government and say, listen, you got to protect me. I've hired all these people that can't do their jobs. I've done everything I can not to offend these minorities that were hired through affirmative action anyway. So you got to give me exclusive contracts or cozy contracts, or we got to do some backroom deals, or got to let me have a monopoly in this area, or an oligopoly or cartel pricing. And that's really the only way around. There isn't another way around this. They've got to, they either go broke because of what they're doing, or they get protected. Now, I guess there's some protection in the sense that every other company is doing that. So the standards are being uniformly and universally lowered, rather than one company lowering the standards and the other one not. So this idea of go woke, go broke, if it's applied to every organisation in the economy or in a certain sector, then customers have nowhere else to go, because the guys down the road, the folks down the road, have services just as piss poor, or products that are just as piss poor as the other outfit. So, but I think it's now taken hold, and it's now become the expected way things are done. And if you said that a commercial manager's job is to meet the company's commercial goals or objectives, or achieve commercial goals or objectives, people would now today, I think, look at you rather strangely. No. This is the role of this executive is to make sure that the equity agenda is implemented and furthered and enhanced, and that's their role. And if they've got any time left over to do business, well, that's how it is. So I think that's the shape of not only things happening now, but certainly the shape of things to come. Now, maybe it'll change, but I'd like to see your comments below. You've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.